Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brand Lab, a podcast by PrettyGirlsWork. I'm your host, Lindsay Tompkins, and I go by the pronouns she and her. I've spent almost a decade building my brand to a six-figure business, and I want to show you how to do the same. There's tips and strategies you'll learn along the way, but remember, the real magic is you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I hope you guys are enjoying this so far, and if you are, I do want to just take 1 second to please ask you, just go to the podcast homepage on here, go back to where you can see all the episodes, and rate, review, and subscribe. It means a lot, especially at the beginning of a podcast launch, because it helps me get on those new and noteworthy lists so that more people can find access to this invaluable information. And if you know anybody who would really benefit from this podcast too, please go ahead and share that with them. It would mean the world to me, though, if you can subscribe, rate, and review. So today we're going to start getting into talking about our brand. And so like I said, not everything is going to be in some sort of chronological order of importance, but we kind of are starting that way. So recap on some of the past episodes. Week 1 is more of an introductory podcast episode, but definitely still go check that out because I do give you my best branding secret, and there's a lot of goodies in there to gain knowledge from. Episode 2, we talked about Facebook versus Instagram. We talked about, why we may need certain things in both of those platforms. I believe that was episode 2. But in the other episodes, we've also talked about Facebook groups in general, why you absolutely do need a community and what that needs to look like, and my top 5 tips and why, and how to get that started. So that was the last episode. So today I want to now sort of transition into starting with our brand. And I wanted to start with those other topics because I wanted to give you guys some information first off to start making actionable right away for your current customers. And I already talked about this in the other episodes, so definitely go listen back, especially to episode 3 and 4, where I talk about Facebook groups, episode 3 being why you need them, and episode 4 being some actionable steps on how to get that started. Because while we're taking the time to build our brand, I don't want you guys just to get into planning mode. I also want you guys to stay in action mode. And so that's making sure that you do carve out time in your business schedule for days where you plan and then days where you act. So maybe once a week or once or twice a month, you have these days where these are my days, where my planning days. This is where I sit down and I look at the vision of my business, and I look at what is it that I want to create, and where do I want to go next, and how can I dig into some of these brainstorming things and ideas. And so you have those days set aside, but the rest of your time you are putting in action, because we do want to be moving your sales and your influence forward. So that's why I wanted to start with the group, because I think that setting up the Facebook group right away is something that you can do and lead your current customers and clientele into, and to start gaining more sales while we're working on this other stuff in the background. So I'm going to be bringing on a lot of guests. I have some really amazing ones lined up for you guys, and they won't all, like I mentioned previously, be in chronological order, but right now we are doing that, and because it's easier for me. It's easier for me sitting over here being okay, what would I talk about next? What do we need to talk about next? So today we're talking about identifying your brand. We're talking about what is it that is going to make you you, and what's going to make you stand apart. So in the first episode, we talked all about kind of what a brand is. And for those of you that haven't listened to that, or you need a recap, especially essentially your brand is how you make other people feel and what they say to other people about you. So it's not so much what you're saying to others or what you think about yourself as a brand or a business or a person. It's when you're not in the room, how do people talk about you? How are they recommending you? And how do they know what to say about you, of oh yes, they're really, amazing at this or that, or this is what they're known for. And that's when you want to get your messaging super, super clear, because if you can't communicate that to yourself or to your customers, they're definitely not going to be able to communicate it to each other. And when you're confused about your business, people are confused about your business. And so it's really important that everything does start with you. Now, I do want to say that you are absolutely allowed to be like a multifaceted, multi-passionate person. I am 100% a multi-passionate entrepreneur. There are many things that I am really good at. And I think that's been something that I've always kind of looked at as a weakness. When my imposter syndrome starts to really kick in, I look at it as, am I a jack of all trades, master of none? But I've really realized that I am a master at being multi-passionate. I am a master at tapping into all these amazing gifts that I know that I've been given. I have a dance business. I have clients that I just do life coaching with, where we talk about confidence and navigating a lifestyle that is based on their rules and no one else's, and how to be intuitive and to gain that self-love. And I have clients who we're working just on helping them find relationships and new partners, and to improve their current relationships. And then I have business clients. I have people that I train social media to, that I do things like this. And so there's so many different things that I am really, really good at. But that needs to also be a part of my brand, because again, it can be really confusing. Some people may be like, oh, is she a relationship coach? Is she a social media marketer? Is she a life coach? Is she a speaker, a trainer? Is she a dance instructor? There's so many different things, but it's important knowing, especially too, how I have those conversations and where I have them. People in my local city know me more as a dancer than anything else, because I have a local business. And so that's how I choose when I go to networking events. I put that foot forward, and it's oh, and I also do these other things, but on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, it's more about, even on Instagram, I think I even appeal more to my life coaching. On LinkedIn, I appeal more to my speaking and my consulting. And on Facebook, it's more about my social media training. I have an amazing group for you guys that I renamed to be the Brand Lab, to kind of coincide with this podcast. I have 7.4 thousand people in there that have gone through my trainings before, taken my courses. And so I've created these little hubs everywhere. And so it's important to note how I show up on different platforms can also have another little layer of a mini brand beneath it. But owning the fact that I am a multi-passionate entrepreneur, and that is a part of my brand, and that is a part of who I am, and how do I make sure that I get that across when I'm communicating? So you want to be really specific, and you want to try to be as niche, obviously, as possible. And I did even talk about this when we talked about setting up your group, and some different things that you really want to pay attention to, and that you do want to try to make it as specific as possible, because then it makes people more inclined to join what it is that you're doing, or to reach out for more information when you're saying that you solve a specific problem. But I also don't ever want you guys to feel pigeonholed. So there are ways around this. And I'd love to even bring on some multi-passionate entrepreneurs and interview them about how they navigate and manage their brand. So if that even sounds like you, make sure that you shoot me an email at info@lindsaytompkins.com. Would love to interview and have you on here. And I think that we'll probably do maybe a few episodes about that. I'd love to share with you guys how I really, manage being a multi-passionate entrepreneur. But for the sake of today's episode, we're going to kind of talk about this as if, you kind of have one specific thing. And again, if you don't, then you can take this strategy and use it, for yourself, even on one platform or one part of your brand. Go, okay, here's how I'm going to start with this one piece. So first of all, I want you to think about what makes you you. And one thing that I really, really want to preface this with is you cannot exist for everybody, and neither can your brand, and neither can your Instagram page or your Facebook group or anything like that. It should be specific, easy to understand, and curated for a specific audience. You want to learn what sets you apart and how to create your own niche. At the end of the day, I love this quote. I have actually a peach tattoo on my arm to remind myself of it, and it's, you could be the ripest, juiciest peach, but there's still people who don't like peaches. And that means that you could be the possible best version of yourself, and people are still going to encounter you and say, not for me. I'm going to pass on that. And that's not a reflection of who you are. You do not want to try to be for everyone, because when we do that, we water down who we are. We water down our brand. And honestly, it's not even a good social media strategy, because the way that the algorithm works on Instagram and Facebook, we'll talk about those more specifically, the way that the algorithm works there, and even on TikTok, you need to talk to a specific audience, because say, for example, I post to Facebook and I'm sharing in my group or on my timeline or business page, whatever it is, and I'm talking to busy millennial moms. And we talked about this in the last episode too. So this will be a recap or new information for some of you. But if I'm talking to busy millennial moms, then they are going to interact with my content. But if the next post I'm talking to Gen Xers or baby boomers or Gen Z, they're not going to see themselves in the post, which means they're not going to keep interacting, which signifies or signals to the algorithm, hey, this person's like not really interested in this content. They thought they'd be interested in it, but turns out the more posts they're seeing, the less they're engaging with it. And Instagram and Facebook want engagement. The more engagement that people are interacting with, like the more that they are engaging with things, the more likely they are to see what? To see ads. It's a better person, a better user to sell to businesses and marketers and advertisers, because it's like these are highly engaged and easily converted people. So Instagram and Facebook does want that to happen. And so it can hold you back. And I think that's really important to think about when you're thinking of, okay, who do I want to reach? And part of this too is like when you really start to hone in on your brand, another thing that I'll kind of pre-warn you with is that you will lose people. I'm going to repeat that one more time for you. You will lose people. You're going to start to trim the fat. When you start to get really clear and specific about who you are and what your business is and what you want to be known for in any given space, you're going to start to lose people. So for example, when I started to talk more about body acceptance and self-love and confidence and like my life coaching and boundaries and things like that, did I lose people from my Instagram that were no longer interested in that? 100%. When I was vulnerable about certain things in my life, did I get unfollows? Yes, absolutely. The more like forward you are about your beliefs and your opinions and who you are as a human being, there's going to be people who disagree with you, and the people who don't want to be connected with you anymore are going to leave. And that can oftentimes feel like a slap in the face. I get it. It does hurt. It feels like if you were standing in a room and you were talking and people were looking at you and going, nah, not for me. And actually walking out on your performance. And because this is our stage, social media for so many of us, this is our stage. And if you were on stage performing or speaking or doing whatever, and if people just started to get up and walk out, like, trust me, that is a hit to your self-esteem, because it's been a hit to mine. But the way that I want you to look at it as, those aren't your people. And I know it's so easy to say that. Those aren't your people. And, you know, it's better to like bless and release and let them go. But it honestly is true. And it's better for the algorithm. It's better for your page, because the more people that you have that actually don't engage, the worse it affects the algorithm and your chances of gaining more followers and showing up in the explore feed or the news feed, depending on what application that you're on. And so to kind of like trim the fat, there's actually this, I can't remember his name right now for the life of me. I think it's like Lewis Dalton or something along those lines. I'll have to look it up. Maybe I can try to even get him on here for an interview, because he's an amazing copywriter and he did a training not that long ago. And yes, it is Lewis Dalton. I just quickly looked it up in my inbox because I get his emails. I subscribe to them. And one of the things that he talked about in a recent training was one of the goals of everything that you write should also be to like turn off certain people, to make people unfollow you, to make people disagree with you, because those are the people that you do need to leave. Like even if you're looking at your email list, for example, I remember working with a certain client and we wanted to do like different re-engagement like campaigns, there's the word, re-engagement campaigns. So it's like getting people to re-engage in the content and asking people, do they want to go off the list? And then like, you know, kind of combing through and removing people that haven't like been opening certain emails. And I remember the client feeling like, I don't want to lose like thousands of people on my list. And I'm like, but right now you're attached to the vanity metrics of, but I have a list of 50,000. but you only have like 20,000 people that are actually active and that are opening things. And so what's happening is it's making your open rate significantly lower, and you're paying higher prices because you're up in like a different level of how many subscribers you have. And you can actually save a lot of money by just like removing these people. And a lot of these people are no longer in the industry that you're trying to build a business in, and they're no longer interested, and they're getting your emails over and over again. And it means that our spam reports are going up because they're like, they don't even remember getting on this list, and all these different things happen. And so a part of like your branding and a part of your copywriting, and copywriting is like the writing that you do about your business to try to sell your program, services, and essentially yourself, is that you should always go into it with two focuses. Number one, to attract the right people, and to like repel the wrong people. You want people to walk out of the room, because then this is not the people for me. I talked about that even in the Facebook group episode of, even if you only have 10 people join your group and you have, let's say like 3,000 people on Instagram or 10,000, whatever that is, and you only have 10 people join your group, to you're like, wow, this is a failure. But those are the best 10 people for you to spend your time with. I'd rather you wake up every single day and connect with those 10 people and still build your Instagram, of course, rather than trying to talk to those 10,000 or 3,000 or however many people on Instagram, because you're going to be wasting a lot of your time and spending a lot of time having conversations that may not go anywhere. I want you to learn how to see who is a hot lead, who is somebody that actually wants to do business with me. And I want you to work smarter, not harder. I want you to reap the benefits of your business and have abundance. And I want you to also have peace. I want you to have boundaries. I want you to have freedom. So many of us start businesses because we want the freedom of earning, like having no glass ceiling on our income potential, to gain as much wealth as possible, but then also to have time, to have flexibility, to go get your hair done in the middle of the day, or go to the doctors without having to take like a half day, or, beg for some time off, that you do really have this flexibility. But what happens is so many of us get like sucked into hustle culture. And that's a whole other topic that we should definitely also talk about. But you get sucked in. And it's because you're working so hard to try to appease everybody. But I want you to like put those blinders on. And I want you to like, when horses put those little things. Actually, what's interesting too is on my other podcast, the Very Vulnerable podcast, I interviewed such a amazing, beautiful human that I am so lucky to be friends with, Nikita. And she is an Olympian. Actually, oh my God, Nikita is starting her own podcast with PrettyGirlsWork. So you guys will definitely be able to learn more from her. But in an episode that we did together, she's unreal. She talked about after she gave birth and she had her son, that she started wearing sunglasses when she was training and when she was running. And she needed to do that because she felt like her empathy and like, this like mom sort of like sense, not like your spidey sense, but like your mom sense, she'd become more aware of her surroundings and had like a harder time focusing. Because as a mom, like you're always aware of like your child, and you have this like expansion for empathy and like noticing people around you and caring for people around you. And she felt like that when it came to her sport, that was a detriment to her. And so she started wearing sunglasses, like how horses wear those little blinders, so she could stay focused on what she was doing and cut out the distractions. And that's what I want you to do in your business. I want you to start to feel like, it's why I have always trained this sort of like get in, get out method when it comes to building our business and being on social media, because I don't want you to spend time getting distracted. I want you to spend intentional time growing your business and connecting with the right people. You can build an amazing 6-figure business off of much less people than you really think that you do. And we think that we need 10,000 people to do it, because really, like out of the 10,000, maybe you only have like 200 that are really qualified. And yeah, I want to teach you guys how to do this smarter. So if you are like brand new to like your business, or maybe you haven't been like super, super clear, we're going to go through some questions together now. What I would definitely suggest is, if you're listening to this while you're like driving or doing something else, listen, but come back to this episode. Then what you should do is you should grab like a journal or a pen and paper, or like pull up something on your laptop or whatever that is. And I want you to press pause at the end of each of these questions, and I want you to jot them down. So the first one is, and these are going to be some really basic ones, and you're like, why do I need to answer these? Because we need to put these things down on paper. Number one one, what product or service do I sell? I want you to write that down, okay? And I want you to be clear and specific about what it is and who is it for. Okay, so we know, okay, this is the first part. Here's something I need to 100% integrate. Number two, because even what's hilarious is when I did this, so it's just like, oh, but I know what I do. I know all the different things that I offer. But without putting it down on paper and really integrating that into my brand, I remember I had someone reach out to me once and they were like, hey, I'm looking for a relationship coach. Can you recommend anybody? And I was like, me? And they're like, oh, really? I didn't know that you did that or you spoke to that. And it was a reminder to me of like, I'm not communicating well enough exactly what it is that I do and the topics that I do train under. And so that was really important to me. And even though it was in the back of my mind, you have to get things out and put them on paper so you can see and to compare and judge, so that when you're looking at your social media content, and we'll do episodes as well about like how to really like monitor your social content and how to, like look back and like do analytics and things like that. But to look at like, is my business being represented in my conversations? So put that down, number one. Number two, what areas of my life are important to me? Okay, because your brand is also going to be, especially for those of us that are building more of a personal brand, it's also going to include like different things about your life that are important to you. And because this is going to help you really create your mission statement. It's going to really help you to create this brand mission of like, who are you as a person and what do you stand for? Because people do business with people they want to be friends with and people they know, like, and trust. And that means that you have to like pull open the curtains a little bit. You can still have boundaries, but you still need to allow people to get to know you. And so it's looking at what other areas of my life may be beneficial for me to integrate into my brand. So I want you to write down what are different areas of my life that are important to me. Next question is, who do I want to connect more with? So write down kind of like those ideal customers. And we're going to go into, in this episode as well, another little exercise with that. Why am I interesting? This one's really, really difficult because a lot of us like don't have the confidence to look at ourselves and go, what is really interesting about me? What is like really good about me? But try to, if you're having a hard time doing that, externalize yourself. Think about like, what are the testimonials that you get? So for example, I'm really funny and I'm very relatable. And it's funny to say it, even just that, to say out loud, it almost makes me cringe to be like, oh, I'm really, really hilarious. But on stage, I am. The number one thing that when I get off stage, and I'm training social media on stage, is that people say, Linz, if at any time this stops being what you want to do or stops working for you, you 100% could be a comedian. And what's interesting is I don't show that a lot. So another good story to quickly share is I was on a shoot. This was about 2 years ago. And I was in a bra and underwear sort of campaign for a company. And I walked on to set and I just really, really told myself, be myself. Because what happens is, because I have a story that I'm too much, I often quiet my voice. It's not that I'm shy. I'm actually not shy. It's that I'm not confident enough because I've been told that I'm too much, I'm too hyper, I'm too in your face, and that I should be quiet and I should take up less space in the room. And so I really walked into it that day because I didn't really know anybody. And I walked into it. I actually didn't know anyone except I'd met the photographer before. And I walked into it and I said, Lindsay, you're going to be yourself and you are not for everybody. And if people don't enjoy you, that's okay. And just be you. And so I went in and I was my hilarious self. I had everyone cracking up and laughing. And I went first and I did like all these silly poses too, just to like really lighten not only the mood of the room, but like myself, to just like shake the seriousness out. And some of the funniest photos that I was doing became some of the best ones. And the next day on the shoot, because it was a 2-day shoot, the next day somebody said to me, oh, Linz, like I was looking at your Instagram because I followed you. And the way that you are in person doesn't necessarily come across, like you're much funnier in person than you let yourself be on Instagram. Like on Instagram, you seem really serious. And I remember when I met my partner for the first time too, he had followed me on Instagram for some time and developed a virtual crush on me. And so I told a friend, and that's kind of how we met. But the first day he met me, I said, like, you know, am I what you expected? And he's like, yes, but more. He's like, you're much more hilarious and like laid back and easygoing. And I think that I've done a lot better job on Instagram in the last like year showing more of who I am, but I am like a really, really funny person, and my speeches are always really funny. And so knowing that like, okay, this is what makes me interesting. So how can I make sure that that comes across even more in my brand, that I'm funny, that I'm personable, that I'm energetic, and that I'm way too much. Another question is, how can I make someone feel a part of a community? So I want you to look at like, how do you love to love people? What are some of your love languages? And if you've never done the love language quiz, I definitely suggest that you go do that, and to look at like, what are the best ways that I show love? Because you can incorporate that also into your business. And I think actually maybe I should make this 2 episodes, because now I'm like, oh my God, we're already at 25 minutes and I feel like there's so much more I want to talk about. So that's what we're going to do. This is going to be 2 episodes. So right now we're going to continue on this path. But if you have never done the love languages, definitely go do that. So some of mine are words of affirmation. And I mean, touch is a big one, but I'm not really seeing my clients or like hugging them all the time. But another one I have is gifts. And for example, I have a client, and we're going through some like identity work right now. And there's a name that she prefers to go by rather than the name that she was given by her parents. And I wanted to just really show her like that I really, really support her in this, and that I honor that in her, and I know that like I trust her intuition of what she feels her name is. And so I actually bought her a necklace that had the name on it that she prefers to be called, and I mailed it to her, and I just got it on Etsy, and it went directly there. And I said, you know, this name is not a choice. It's not something that you're choosing. It is your little soul chose this before you were born, and this is your birthright. And I'm with you, and put her name on it. And she was just so grateful. So like that solidified this, you know, this intimacy in our relationship and this trust even more so. And so it's looking at like, that's something that's important to me. So when I'm looking at like a part of not even just my brand, but like my onboarding process for my clients, is that they get a questionnaire. And in that questionnaire, they, you know, put in like their home address, like their mailing address and things like that. But then I also ask them questions of, you know, what's your favorite local maker or shop? What is your Starbucks drink? Because on days too, where my clients maybe are having like a rough day, or it's their birthday, or I know they just like crushed a meeting or something like that, I'll Uber Eats, if I know they're home, I'll Uber Eats them their favorite Starbucks, or I'll send them just a little sort of like a gift card in their email. But I love to actually send like the actual physical Starbucks. So just things like that. And so looking at like, how do I want to love people? And if you've never taken the love languages test, I would definitely suggest go look into that to see which one, the way that you love to be loved is how we typically love to show love. And so what are those different ways that you want to make people feel a part of your community, and how do you want to make them feel special and recognized? And this will really play into your brand and how you talk about what your community feels like, right? Because if, you know, even if we're trying to get people into a membership, we're trying to get people into a Facebook group, we're trying to get people to just even follow us and to be a part of our community, to be one of our clients, our customers. It's not only like, yeah, here's why, you know, the product or the problem, or the product or the program solves your problem. It's this is how it feels to do business with me. This is who I am, and you're safe with me, and you're safe here. So really allow yourself to just free write and explore that as well. Another question to look at is, what do I wish other bloggers or businesses showed more of on Instagram? So another part of your brand can also be, showing authentically who you are, but differentiating yourself from your competitors. So looking at maybe someone who does something similar to you and go, what do I wish that they talked more about? What do I wish that they shared more about? What do I feel like is lacking from their strategy? And how can I really show up with that to differentiate myself between me and that person? And this is called social monitoring. So a really important thing to do with our social media strategy is, so there's social listening and social monitoring. So social listening is when we go and look at on social media, different places that our business and our brand is being talked about. So that is being intentional, obviously, with your comments and people that are commenting directly on what you're doing. But I will also go to Google or go on Reddit or on Facebook and type in my name, and things will come up and I'll see people talking about me. Thankfully not on Reddit yet. But I will see what are the conversations that are being had about me. I've been able to find even on Facebook, people being like, oh my gosh, I just took this training with Lindsay Tompkins. Be sure to go take it. And it's great. That's amazing that people are obviously enjoying that training, because people don't always necessarily give me testimonials up front or directly. And so it's making sure that I'm listening to what they're saying about me. But social monitoring is when we go monitor the industry that we're in. We go monitor our competitors. So we really go and look and see, what are people saying about my industry? What are people saying about other people? And how can I show up and essentially be the hero in this situation? If there's something lacking from my competitor and people are talking about that, how can I make sure that I show up on my social media and speak to that? Say there's somebody who sells, I don't know, say you're a landscaper and in your area there's a landscaping company and someone's saying, the thing that I really hate most about, maybe they leave a review and they're saying, they did a really, really great job, but I found that they didn't really clean up after themselves. I came home from work and there was grass all over the lawn, or they kind of left the grass clippings on the grass, and I prefer to have those picked up. And I just feel like they didn't kind of finish that off. You can go, great. This is something that's obviously really important to clients who hire landscapers. So I'm going to make sure that in my branding and in my marketing, maybe I talk about how we landscape from beginning to end. And that means coming in with the vision of saying here is, how to make the best use of the space that you have, and here's what we see would be the most appealing, or here is, we have we work with a real estate agent also, that's part of what we do, and we have them come in and we have someone that advises with us, and they tell us how to increase curb appeal and what really sells, and we help you achieve that from beginning to end, which includes the cleanup. So not only every time you get home will you be excited that we were there, it'll seem like we were never there. And so that becomes part of your brand. That becomes part of your marketing and your mission. And you can only come up with that when you see what are people actually talking about. And so it's listening in on other people. So if there's something that you think is missing from others that you follow that do something similar to you, and then that's something that you need to start doing and becomes part of your brand mission and kind of how you show up. So another question I want you guys to answer is, who are some of my favorite accounts? I want you to write those down. And that's because what I really love about this, and this is a tip that I got from, I always kind of butcher her name, Kara Alwileba. I think that's it. She is the author of Champagne Diet. She has another one that she just put out, Girl on Fire. I really fucking love that one. I actually need to read it again and kind of go through it one more time. She was supposed to be on my last podcast, so we had a technical issue and we just kind of never rescheduled. So maybe I should bring her on this podcast. But one of the things she talks about is having secret mentors. So if there's people that you love what they're doing and you want to emulate that, then follow them. Check in on these people. So if you're looking at what are some of my favorite accounts and why am I drawn to them, these are things that you can also incorporate into your business. And these are things that you can learn from. So it's going, okay, I want to be, really authentic, or I want to be, I know I mentioned her before, but I just love, I am Jam Gamble on Instagram, and even it's Vivian K, things I love that they both do. So number one, Jam has like her yellow everywhere, and she's always showing up with a pop of yellow, and that's like always really encouraging to me. And so it's a good reminder for me to like, okay, what can something that like it doesn't have to be a color, but what's something identifiable about me. And another thing I love that Vivian does is when she has people sign up for her programs, what she did was she ordered fake money off of Amazon. And so what happens when you sign up for her program, she writes your name on this $1,000 bill and she pins you up on her board. And so she's like manifesting this like wealth and money for you. She teaches on Shopify, and I just love how she does it. And it's like, it makes you excited. It makes you be like, I don't even have anything to sell on Shopify. I don't have a physical product, but I'm like, damn, I kind of want to take this because I want to get my name on that freaking $1,000 bill. I want like this energy, and I love that she does that. And so these are things that we can pull from people and to see like what really inspired, and to create different ideas from, and to really just learn from them, just to show up and like be in their presence and to really network with people that are doing amazing things and that are really, really inspiring to us. And so having those down as these, that Kara says, like your secret mentors, these are the people that you check in on, and that you, especially for those of you that maybe can't afford to work with a coach or anything like that, maybe you don't really have people in your network yet that you can really lean on as accountability or anything to that effect, you can have these secret mentors that you do intentionally check in on every day to be like, okay, what is this person saying? Kara's one of mine. I love what she posts. I love everything that she does. And so I check in on her and I see what she's doing and I see the ideas that she has. And I'm like, okay, how can I build from this, or how can I allow this to inspire me? And how can I learn from what she's doing? Another thing to ask yourself is, what is something me and my friends always talk about? So something that you feel like you're talking about and doing every single day in your life is like really the key to your passion and like what your brand should really represent. A lot of us, what's interesting is I'll see people have this like brand and they talk about, like while they're working in this business in this 9 to 5, but once it's 5 o'clock, they're like, whew, I can finally stop talking about that. And then they spend all this time talking about a totally different topic with their friends and during their downtime and their personal time. And I really believe in what we do every single day unlocks this, this door to what our brand and our business is really meant to be. So explore that question, get curious about it. What am I interested in? What do I talk about? And how can I incorporate this into my business? Because something that I'm already doing really intuitively, that's going to make it so much easier to do in my business. And then I feel like my business and my life are much more aligned. Another question here, and you don't have to answer all of these, but honestly, these are questions that I have all answered and has helped. And I'm going to go back, like now that I've even just kind of reimagined my business in the last year, I need to go back and do this. If I quit my job and write a book, what would my book be about? Okay, that can really, really help you get specific about the topics and how you talk about your brand. And if maybe some of you guys do want to be authors, okay, well, what would your first book be about? My first book I used to think would be about vulnerability. But my first book now is going to be about my break from Instagram, about like how to have like an ethical relationship, how to create like ethical technologies, how to have a relationship with social media that has boundaries, that protects our mental health. And what are some of the things that I learned from also being distanced from that? So I'm really excited about that and knowing that, like, how can I continue to incorporate that into my brand? And then if I stopped being so scared, who would I be? That's honestly, it's a really strong one. And I'm reading actually some of these points from a course that I did in 2019. And it's been probably since 2019 that I've even answered these questions. And I kind of forgot about this one. And what I love about it is that so many of us like get into people pleasing and we're trying to create this, persona of who we think that people want us to be. But if I wasn't so scared, and if I had so much courage to just be free and be myself, who would I be? That is like the true brand. That is the true calling for you for your business. And so to look like, what is different about that? And what do I need to start peeling away so I can get closer to that? Because that is truly your magic. And that is like showing up and being vulnerable. I love this Brene Brown quote, and it says, I want to be in the arena. I want to be brave with my life. And when we make the choice to dare greatly, we sign up to get our asses kicked. We can choose courage or we can choose comfort, but we can't have both, not at the same time. And branding, we can look at it as like, this is fluffy and fun, and I'll like, choose my brand colors, and I'll ask people, on social media, what 5 words best describe me. That is like shallow branding. Branding is fucking healing. Discovering your brand is shadow work. Discovering your brand is like, who the hell am I? And like, why do I keep pretending to be somebody else? And what I love about that quote from Brene Brown is that when you want to be in the arena, when you want to like fucking play, sorry, I'm starting to swear because I'm getting like all intense and energetic here. You sign up to get your ass kicked. It means that people are going to turn away from you. It means that people aren't going to like you. It means that you're going to, run into some obstacles. You're going to have to fight some fights. But you can choose that courage to be you and to like disrupt the industry that you are in, to say enough of this. I'm going to change the way that women shop for skincare. I'm going to change the way that women or men show up and dance. I'm going to change the way that people find and work with coaches. I'm going to change the way that this industry shows up and what we stand for. I'm going to peel away all those layers, and I'm going to be something different, and I'm going to be what I always needed. When you start to do that real healing work and you start to really just allow yourself to go, what did I need as a child? What did I need from a mentor? What did I need somebody to say to me? How did I need someone to love me? It's a part of your growth in your personal life and your relationships, but it's also a part of your brand. It's also a part of like what you are meant to do, because it is how you feel about yourself is how you are going to make other people feel. And if you feel like you are showing up all the time in your Sunday best and it is not your authentic self, you're going to get tired of keeping that up. And people catch on to it, but you're going to give up, you're going to lack consistency, and you're not going to go the distance. The first hurdle that you run into, you're going to give up because you don't have the resiliency and the endurance to keep pushing forward, because it's not even something that you care all that much about. Your brand is how you feel and how you want to make others feel. And it's a solution to a problem that you also have. And that's that relatability. That's how we really, really show up and we connect with other people. And lastly, I just kind of want to talk about when we're thinking about our brand as well. So in the next episode, we're going to start to nail down the customer. But there's also different types of accounts and businesses that we can be, especially when we're looking at Instagram. So, you can be like a funny account. You can be something that's a little bit more community-based, something that focuses more on inspiration and education. You can show up and just be a product page, or it can be creative. It can be a variation of all of them. I would definitely say if you are more of a solopreneur, that I would stay away from just being a product-based account. And what I mean by that is not necessarily going like, I'm just going to post. I see this a lot in direct sales specifically. I'll see people just post like their product over and over again, but people aren't getting to know you. This is where your brand separates your business, like in your products and your programs. So there's your brand and then there's your business. Our business is made up of our products, programs, and services, and our brand is how we make other people feel. And our brand is always going to be the starting point to unlock our products, programs, and services. And so to make sure that like, how am I establishing a brand up front? And I'm not just talking about the features of my business all the time. I'm also talking about the benefits, but not even just the benefits of my program. I'm talking about the benefits of me. I'm telling you like how you're going to feel when you're here, how this is going to enrich your life, and how you can feel proud to do business with somebody like me or with my product. And so kind of looking at that too, when you're looking at, okay, how am I developing this all out? Do I want to just be more of like a funny sort of meme account? Do I want want to be really inspirational only? Do I want to be a combination of also educational? Do I want to just post my product? Now, big brands can get away with this. You look at something like, I don't even know, like Benefit Cosmetics, for example, and they're not, no one really knows. I don't know who the owner is. Maybe other people do, but I don't know who started it or the founder, because it's just the product and they use influencers to do that for them. But if you're not a huge brand, you don't need to rely on other people to become the face of it. We talked about this in episode 1. You're the face of it. So you have to show face. You have to give yourself screen time. You have to show up in your Instagram stories, on Facebook Live. You need to show up in your group and be a person, because your brand is the person side of your business. And that's you. The real, like it says in the intro, the real magic is you. And so these questions allow you to find out more about who you are outside of your business. And these are really, really important questions to consider. So take the time, if you just listen to this all the way through, take the time to go back, press pause. You can write these questions down and do it as you go, or just kind of, write them down and come back to it. Bring these questions to your other entrepreneur friends, to other people that you work with, to anyone else who's, needs to be inspired to just kind of narrow down and get specific about their business, and do this together. Make this a little challenge this week for you and your friends, or you and your team, or whatever that looks like. I am here for you guys always. If you have any questions, I'm off Instagram right now, but you can email me. Yes, my personal email, info@lindsaytompkins.com. Would love to see you guys there. And then you can also go to Facebook, facebook.com/groups/Lindsay Tompkins to get into my free group called The Brand Lab. Would absolutely love to see you there. And thank you guys so much for taking the time to rate and review and subscribe to this podcast. It means the world to me. And I look forward to seeing you every single week. I got you. I'm here with you. And the world needs more you. See you on the next episode.